Hi again. This is Angela Wolf, and we are having just minor technical difficulties. I'm trying to get Reen to log in here. This worked beautifully yesterday. Of course, it's not going to work when you're all ready to talk to her. Let me just see. We're testing this one more. Hate to waste your time, but we're going to get this. Hey, here she comes. I see Reen. Reen, I kind of see you. See if I can. There you
Hi,
are.
there I am.
So can everyone see Reen? Yay.
Good.
Okay, so take 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure what we're on.
Well, at least it's working now.
I'm Angela Wolf, and this is Reen Wilcoxson.
Hi, everyone.
And in case you missed the first part before we clicked off, Reen is the founder of Embroidery Garden. I met her last year when we did this tour at All Brands, which was a lot of fun.
It was.
She had these awesome embroidery in the hoop projects, and probably 300 people at each event working on the top of the line brother machine, from the Dream machine to the 10 needle. Then we even added the other machine, so she had to change all of her designs just to be there for that hoop. But anyways, yesterday we talked about a lot of your designs, and if you've missed that on Facebook Live, you can go back and watch that. Today I thought it would be fun to talk to Reen about her business side, because I know that would really interest a lot of you. So Reen, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Angela.
So one of the things that intrigued me, well, first I'll let you start and then I'll tell you what intrigued me, because I don't want to mess you up. So when did you start your business?
Well, I actually started selling designs online back in 2000. I had bought an embroidery machine. I really didn't know anything about embroidery machines. I really didn't even know that they were available for home use. But I happened to go into a dealer getting my sewing machine fixed and saw one. And by the time I went and picked my machine up, I said, put it in the car. I wanted it really bad. I got the software, I got everything, and I didn't know anything, about it. But I kind of just started to dive into it, and I knew from the very start that I wanted to create my own designs.
So you didn't have any background in this. You just loved the embroidery machine and saw possibilities.
Right. I didn't have any. I had a sewing background. I had done craft shows for, 15 years with my in-laws. We were doing really large juried shows, and like I said, I had to get my machine fixed, and I went in and I saw this embroidery machine, and it was the first time I ever saw one. But I knew I wanted it.
That's very cool. So what was your first machine, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
Singer. It was the Singer PSW, but it didn't take long before I ended up, I got the brother, it was the 8500. It had the 5x7 hoop, and back then it was like, wow, this is large.
Oh yeah, now it's like 9.5 by 14.
Right.
Is that the one that we have on our brother?
I love it.
I could do my whole sleeve.
I can make big purses and design all kinds of things in that area.
So what got you into doing embroidery in the hoop? I mean, for me, I could sew it faster, but then when I saw what you put together, it amazes me, and I love it.
Thanks. Well, first I started off, I had to learn the software because I didn't know anything about it. So it took me a few years to, practice and learn all the tools and learn about the software and just about embroidery in general. And I started out with appliques, and I did a little set of appliques, and I thought they were really cute. And I had my oldest son, who was maybe a senior in high school, build me a very, very simple website. And I got my designs up, and they started to sell. And then I had a lady email me and wanted a sucker holder for Valentine's Day for her daughter to take to class. So I made it very, very simple, 2 pieces of felt with a buttonhole in it for the sucker stick to go into. That was my first in the hoop design. And then it just it's really hard to explain how it snowballed from a sucker holder to a fully lined purse with 3 zippers in it. But it did. It just kind of evolved.
A sucker holder. I love that though. So when I talked to you one time, you love math about as much as I do, which is kind of funny that we're in the sewing side. So when you started doing this, did you have to hire someone or could you do it yourself or you put it together?
I did everything myself. You know, coming up with in the hoop designs it's like sewing. So it's like, you know, you are embroidering, but you're letting your embroidery machine sew for you. So in the hoop designs there are a lot of placement lines, there are a lot of seams, things like that. And how I start with the design is I get my idea and I may start with paper and take paper and fold it and cut it and tape it together to try and build what the design I'm trying to make. Or I might set my sewing machine with scraps, just keeping in mind that I'm in the hoop and I have the front side of the hoop or I have the back side of the hoop I can work on.
That was the one thing that when I worked with you last year, the first project that we did, she's having you hoop step on the top, flip the hoop over, tape. So, I mean, I wouldn't have even ever thought of any of that. When I hoop, I put the stuff on the top or hoop it. Usually I float everything. I thought this is amazing. So, because I could never in my mind think how you could get everything fully lined with embroidery on the top. Well, you solved that problem by hooping it all different ways.
Right. By, you know, just having stops in the machine. You change color, that's a different stop. So then you have time to add a piece of fabric or trim something or move something, you know, fold it over, something like that, and then go on to the next step. Recently, or well, within the last few years, instead of being limited to the front side of the hoop or the back side of the hoop, I started going through the hoop. I cut through the stabilizer now in a lot of designs, manipulate fabric through the stabilizer. So,
and I saw you do some of those too, which I would have, I mean, it's awesome. How many designs do you have? Do you even know?
Oh my gosh. I must have at least 700 or so on my site. I've got a lot.
Yeah, I showed my husband your site last night because he said, so what does she do exactly? After I've been working with you for, over a year last year and went through there, he said, oh my gosh, how long has she been doing this? So wait, what year did you start?
Well, I got my embroidery machine, the first machine probably in about 98 or 97. And then, like I said, I started with an actual website in 2000. So I just had 17 years.
And that was how many designs did you launch with your first website?
Oh gosh, not very many. I know I started with a couple of sets of appliques of little bugs. That was the first thing. And then for a couple of years there, I just had appliques and filled designs. And while I just tried to build up, the number of things that I had on my site. And then I got into this in the hoop and now I can't get out of the hoop.
Well, you got me in the hoop. So what would you say it has been your most challenging aspect? Because do you have employees? I know you have your family's helping. I wasn't going to say huge family, but you have a huge help from your.
I don't have any employees. It is just me. My two daughter-in-laws help me. One of them helps me a lot with my wholesale orders and, getting those out. And both of them help me manage my group, my In the Hoop group. It's a large group and I have several friends that are also admins in there. But the actual coming up with the ideas, the digitizing, the stitching, the testing, the instruction writing, the website page building, that's all me doing that.
Yeah, that's a lot. Do you ever sit there like I was last week and my husband said, do you ever feel like you're a hamster on the wheel?
Yeah.
Because I'm always thinking I'm going to hit these deadlines and it just doesn't work because software didn't work or like today. But what would you say is the most challenging of being self-employed?
I think probably dedicating time to getting your work done, because there's always distractions. Right now it's nice out, you want to go outside, that kind of thing is hard to manage, manage your time.
That's one. when it's nice out, I wish they would come up with a laptop that worked really well in the sun. I would definitely be your brand ambassador.
So then it makes me stay up later at night working sometimes, or, you know, on the weekends and things like that. You have a life.
So now, yeah, well, that's the big thing. I mean, with my business, when I did my custom clothing, I worked nonstop. Now, I haven't had a sewing machine in the house until last year for 10 years. Not a sewing machine, because I wanted to separate work from family life.
Right.
But the problem is the computer's always with me, and 90% of my work's on the computer, and so is yours.
Right.
So you're traveling a lot. You have a ton of events coming up. Your husband travels with you. He's a great guy. So how do you manage, and this one I'm curious about because I have a difficult time with this, answering all the emails, keeping up with social media while you're traveling, because you know as well as I do, when we're finished with those events, you're exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to get in that hotel, open the laptop, and maybe like 3 minutes of scrolling, and I'm out.
Well, I do have, like I said, you know, I've got several friends that help in my group. Any little minute, you know, while you're waiting for the luggage to come, you're online trying to answer emails. You know, any little moment you have, you're taking to answer questions in your group, or, you know, getting the emails done, and, you know, things like that. So it's constant.
Yeah. So what's your future plan?
Pardon me?
How many designs you coming out with? What are your future plans? Where do you see your business has grown so much?
It has.
And you've built such a great following. I mean, how many fans do you have on Facebook? 70-some thousand?
I'm getting close to 78 on my Facebook page, on my site's page. And then I got a very large...
Which is a lot. And you interact with everyone. Now the group, how many people do you have in there?
Oh, over 35,000 are in the group. So
yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
I had to actually turn the alert off on my phone. not that I don't want to chat with all of you at 4 in the morning, but we're not all on the same time.
Right.
And I love to hear from them. But if I forget to turn the volume off, you know, 3 in the morning,
you get
ding,
all the notifications,
ding.
come in. So
yeah, which I love. So I try to just check it twice a day, because it's constant. But you do such a good job. You have free patterns in there. What made you start that group?
Well, I wanted to, you know, Facebook pages are great, but in a group you can interact with people more, and they can post photos that everyone can see. On a Facebook page, not everyone, you know, gets to see the photo unless they happen to go to the page or something. But in the group, there's just a lot more interaction and stuff. And my group is devoted only to my designs. So, you know, there's a lot of ideas come up in my group for uses for my designs, different uses that I wouldn't have thought of. And it's just very creative and inspiring. Lots of great people are in the group.
You know, your group, well, I think you and Rhonda are the ones that had me start my group. You, Rhonda, and Carrie said, why don't you start a group? I thought, okay. And you're right. The photos that people post in my group, again, is just for my patterns. And like even yesterday, that cute shirt that, oh gosh, I just lost her name. She's adorable. She just made the cutest skirt. And I thought, I have a fabric like that. And you see the different designs, or the jeans. And with your group, when you came out with that spa collection, which is the one that I've always ruled over, because of the fact that the bags, I think Carrie came up with one that was all satin with that bow, totally different look. And it's cool to interact, see everybody's creativity. And I don't know about you, but when it happens in my group, it helps me to keep going and to come up with new ideas. And it's exciting to interact that way.
Yeah, it motivates you, and you get to see different things, different fabrics. Sometimes people have a little bit different way of doing something, and it triggers something, you know, in your mind that you could do something a little bit differently, or add to it, or, you know, build a whole new set around something.
Right. So what would be, because I've had this question quite a few times, and I'm curious with yours, again, an entrepreneur without employees, if there was anything that you could hire the perfect person for, what do you feel that you could give up? Because one of the big issues as an entrepreneur is to, and I learned this from my husband, I've heard it from many people, and it's true. If I'm sitting there shipping items, that's something that I do, but you could hire somebody for a certain wage, and then you could spend your time doing other things. Because if you're the creative master behind your company, you have to use your time doing that.
Right.
And you have to relinquish some things. Although I still write my hand notes to people. If I'm walking by and Katie or my husband's shipping, I'll write a quick note because I love that. But what would be something that you think that if somebody just starting out, they're running out of time, they have to relinquish something, what would be your advice on?
Oh, it's hard to say because I enjoy coming up with all the ideas for the designs. I enjoy creating them. I enjoy the groups. I enjoy, all the social media. For me right now, what I really hate to do is pack up for events. It takes so much time to get everything ready. If I had my own little travel secretary that, put everything together for me. Dave is really good. He makes all the travel plans, but I'm the one that's got to pack the boxes and know what's in them and, how many CDs and all this and stuff. And if I could have someone do that for me, I would absolutely love that. It takes a lot of time, especially with the amount of classes I'm doing now.
Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest time suckers. I mean, not meaning it's not quality time, but I see Rhonda and Carrie said paperwork. I am definitely with you on that.
Right.
I hate paperwork and I hate bookkeeping.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky because my husband's an accountant. So I take this box and it's like, I just throw everything in the box. And then at the, during tax time, he's the one who's got to go through everything.
Well, do you think I could send my box down to him? I hate taxes, so does my husband. So we're not a good combo on that. What about when you're talking about the packing? Do you know I actually turned one of the extra bedrooms into, because I didn't want to get rid of the bed in case my family visits, but I turned it into a packing room. I have a whole wall of shelves, stuff I grab, because if I'm going from one event to the other or a fishing tournament, I even bought different color suitcases so I don't accidentally bring the fishing bag to a class, because there's certain things that you use. Right. But the shipping of product is really, it takes a lot of time because you have to do the inventory, you have to check the inventory coming back.
Right.
That is a big one.
That's like, we have 2 spare bedrooms, and right now in one of them, all my samples and everything are laid out. And the other one, I've got piles of CDs all laid out, boxes, packing tape, sheets of paper, all kinds of stuff that I have to clean up then when the kids come to visit.
Oh, you could tell them like I told Colin and Cody, my 67-year-old nephew, bring your sleeping bags. You can sleep under the piano in the living room. They'll think it's a tent. Yeah. So, Dave, he has been so supportive of you. Yes. And he reminds me a lot of my husband who traveled with you, dinners together. And I keep telling my husband, you have to come with me like Dave does. Is there anything in your traveling and what you're doing that he loves or that he doesn't? Like he says, Reen, you got to stop doing that. Or Reen, why don't you add this?
He loves to travel with me. He really does. I go to the class, I teach the class, and he's out biking. He, cycles, road bike, bicycle. He actually bought a big case. He takes it on the plane with him. I say, oh, the store in, Washington contacted me. I'm going to, go out there and teach. First thing he does, he's on the computer looking for the trails and the routes that he's going to ride,
That's so cool.
That he helps me, pack up and things like that. He does not come into the class too much. He did it all brands though. I remember he actually made one of the purses. He sat down and
he did.
We got a picture of him.
I missed that.
In Sulphur, he actually made one of the bags there, and he's never touched an embroidery machine, funny. And he was able to follow along, and his purse turned out great.
Hey, that's awesome. I did see him in your booth a lot helping, which is very nice because that's a lot of work too.
Back then, he didn't take his bike, so. But now.
So how many new designs do you have coming out? I mean, like what do you have going on right now?
Well, right now I am working on a new set of, I like sewing things, little sewing items. There's going to be an armchair caddy with a little thread catcher and pin cushion, scissor holders,
Oh, that'll be cute.
things like that. That's in a set that I actually worked on a little bit this morning. Beyond that, right now, I don't have any plans. People send me ideas all the time. I've got a list, I've got a notebook, but something has to kind of grab me and kind of hit me that, I want to work on next.
Do you find, because you're doing so many different things, that you have to, if you had like a week to focus on patterns, a week to write directions, and then a week to work on other things, that once you get rolling on one thing, it's so much easier. Like when I do a pattern, I might do one, and then I have to go do something else. If I could just sit and lock myself in a room for 7 days, I could have 20 patterns finished.
Right.
And then another week, I could write the direction. Because once you get rolling with one aspect, if you're using Illustrator or you're using a different software, it takes about a few hours to get reworking, and then you spend all that time and then move on to something else. Do you find that the same thing, or do you prefer to go from one to the other?
Well, it always seems like when I get on a roll, everyone kind of has a slump every now and then where you just kind of don't know what to work on, or you're unmotivated.
I'm so happy to hear you have that too.
But a lot of times I'll be finishing up something and, maybe I still have some more of the instructions to write on, but I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do next. And I'm, it's almost like I don't want to finish that. I want to move on to the next thing, but I know I have to finish, the first thing.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you have that too.
Yeah, I like when that happens.
You do have a few questions popping up. Let's see. Pat wants to know that snowman that you showed yesterday was super cute. And Laura wants to know, when is that coming out?
That'll be out probably around November sometime. He's actually sitting right here by me.
Let me see. Now we get to see it up close.
See if I can get it close.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah. I love that, Mila.
Yeah, you can see it better today. You can
see it much better today.
But he'll be coming out.
Do you all see that on there? Very, very cute. Okay, you had a few other questions up here.
Whoops.
Oh.
That was my phone. I told Dave not to call.
Not mine this time? Somebody asked what software you use.
PE Design.
PE Design?
I use.
Which one?
Right now I am using 10.
Okay. I think I have PE Design next. And I'm reading Cindy Hogan's book.
Yeah.
But it's very helpful.
Oh, yeah.
I have where I like to learn everything about it before I jump in. But I don't do that with my machine. So I don't know why I'm doing it with my software, because you can't possibly learn everything.
Right.
But that software is great.
It is. I've always used it. I love it.
Do you have an Etsy store?
Yes, I do have an Etsy, and I also sell some of my designs on Craftsy. I don't really, and all of my designs aren't on there. I kind of use Etsy more as a lot of people shop on Etsy and see designs. That's great. Now you see them. Now kind of come over to my website.
Right.
To get more traffic.
Because that's a lot of work to manage 2 websites with all your products.
Right. So I don't list everything on both of those. I kind of use them as gateways to get people familiar with my designs, get more people to see my designs out there. And then the basic goal is to get them to the website where you can see everything there.
Right. Do you have on Craftsy, those are all PDF, right? You can't ship on that?
No, on Craftsy you can, you have downloads. And
that's what I mean. Downloads,
right. Yeah. So you get the design files and the PDF instructions.
Used to think that downloadable files for smaller things would be okay, but for patterns, I mean, 80 sheets. I think it's 84 sheets for my jeans. But I have to say, in today's world where we want things instantly, if I'm in the mood to sew jeans, I want to sew jeans. I don't want to wait 3 days for shipping. So the keeping together isn't so bad. And the other thing is, shipping internationally is so expensive.
It is.
So the digital downloadable patterns for everything, I think, has really been a blessing to the person designing them and the person buying. What are your thoughts on
Oh,
that?
definitely. When I first started 17 years ago on my website, there was an instant download. I think maybe some of the really huge companies had instant download, but back then you had to email designs out. And that was, I couldn't imagine doing that today. And then after you
Yeah.
emailed it, then you had to, I had Excel sheets with, all the information, because if someone lost their designs or something happened, I had to have a record of, where they went and stuff. So that was a real pain.
I think it's so much easier now. Someone said, what happens if the internet goes away? Oh, my life would be very quiet.
Some days you want it to go away.
So somebody, yes, it's PE Design 10.
Right.
Terry, she was asking you that question. It's a limited program. PE Design 10?
No, it's not limited.
Program?
I don't feel that it's limited at all.
No, that one's pretty, Terry, you might be thinking of something else, because that software does everything.
Right. I've used it for years and years. With software, it's what you're comfortable with. You have to be comfortable with your software, and you have to learn your software. A lot of people don't want to take the time to really sit down and spend the time that you have to with software to learn how to use it. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice, but I really like PE 10.
That's nice. Hey, do you mind if we bring Rhonda up in here?
Sure.
Rhonda, I want to bring you in here if that's all right, because we're talking about software, and you also have your own embroidery business. And do you mind if I bring you up here? Well, you could say no after. Oh, there you are. I'm going to invite you. Let's see if this works this time. Reen, I love your scarf.
Oh, thank you.
Did you bring that cork with you today?
Yes, I did.
Wait, were you going to tell me something about your scarf before I interrupted you?
Oh, no. The only reason I could make it was because Carrie did a video on how to make the scarf on her serger.
Oh, nice.
But this is the cork.
Here comes Rhonda. Oh, it comes on a big roll like that?
Yes, it comes on a big roll. I buy it on a big roll. But I do have a piece that is smaller so that maybe you can see it. It's been cut off of something that maybe you can see it close up.
Oh, yeah.
It's very
I love that.
soft and pliable, so easily embroidered on. Here's the back side. You can see it's got a little bit of a backing. It kind of feels suede-like on the back, but it's really thin.
It's I was picturing stiff. That is not stiff.
No, it's not stiff at all. And
I like that.
And it's kind of thin. You can see how thin it is.
Right. Does it tear?
No,
like
you can't tear it.
accidentally?
No, you can't tear it at all.
That's nice. Well, that's definitely not like the bulletin board then.
Right. Is Rhonda going to be able to come on?
I think she's trying to. I don't know if her signal's good enough. Says it isn't working again. Okay. I'm going to remove you, Rhonda, and I'll invite you again. It might be because this is live on YouTube and it has to be a little bit higher resolution, and you have to have a good signal. There's a few more questions on here. Maybe it didn't look like that in the package. Oh, yes, they're still talking about PE Design. There are different levels of that software that don't have everything. Like I have an older version.
Right, and you can't
something.
You can't tell how good software is just by looking at the box. You get to see it in action and stuff. So there are tons of softwares out there. Again, you have to find something that you're comfortable with, because they all have their own learning curve. I find PE Design to be very user-friendly, and I'm not a big computer person. When I went to school, there weren't computers in schools. My generation didn't grow up, being all computer and tech savvy like, kids are now and stuff. So I was able to pick it up quickly.
I didn't either. We moved quite often, and I always missed the computers, and they were just coming out, and you had to program them, and that just did not excite me.
Right.
Now you can't get me off. Let's see. Rhonda wants to know, can you tell everyone how to get one of your classes scheduled in your area? This is one of the most common questions in your group. That's a great question.
Right. Basically, if you want a class in your area, you need to go to your local dealer and talk to them about sponsoring a class, have them contact me to come in. That's really how all of my classes get started and get booked, is by the store contacting me and wanting me to come in.
That's good to know, because even with your events last year with All Brands, those huge events, they sold out quickly.
Right.
So
they did.
I've noticed that some of the events you have, it might be a 2-day event or a 3-day event, and then when it sells out, you end up adding a few more days if you can.
Right. Some of them have had days added on because they sold out quickly. If you go to my website, embroiderygarden.com, and you can click on the classes and events tab, and that'll tell you what my schedule is for the rest of this year.
Nice. What was the name of the book you're using, Angela, for embroidery software? Oh, it's Cindy Hogan's book. What's it called?
Oh,
PE Design.
yeah, she does a lot of
If I have it.
tutorials and books on using PE design, and they're great. She's got a newsletter. She's got a website.
Yeah,
you can go to her
it's
website.
Cindy Hogan. I'll type it in the comments down here. I'm going to be interviewing her coming up as well. I'd show you her book, but it's at home with a bunch of Post-its all over it because I'm trying to work up. Okay, so does anybody want to pop on here live? We're still trying to get Rhonda live, but does anybody want to try to pop on here live and say hi to Reen and ask her a question? You have to have a mic and a camera, and we will try that. Just say yes, and I will invite you to participate.
I think
so. This is the first time we've tried this, and it's live streaming on YouTube at this point. But because we stopped and started 5 times, there's probably 5 videos on YouTube. I'm going to have to figure out how to delete those off, or somebody's going to think that I was really bored today.
I think it's great.
So, Reen, while we're waiting to see if anybody else comes on, do you have any advice for someone? There was somebody yesterday that commented after your video that said they have an Etsy store. I think she said that she put together a bunch of designs. She's just started out in a small scale. Do you have any advice for them?
Well, you just have to keep plugging it, keep getting your designs out there as much as you can. Social media is great. Post wherever you can post about your designs with links. If you are able to get a website going, try that. But you really, doing what we do, what all of us do, it's word of mouth, more or less. We don't have brick and mortar retail stores. So it's a lot of, just posting and telling people, getting people to know. So they tell someone else who tells someone else and tells someone else. I'm very lucky that while I was starting my business, I was also at that time building up a large following. Back then, when I first started, Yahoo groups were the big thing, and
I remember those.
And there's still a lot of people in Yahoo groups, and there's still a lot of Yahoo groups. There's Google groups. There's all kinds of groups. You need to research anything and everything where you can advertise your designs to get them out there more. And, just try to build up a following.
That's a good advice, because I started my patterns because of the TV show It's So Easy. I had no intention of patterns. I was designing clothes. But in your case, you started with what you wanted to do, and you have to build it from scratch.
Right.
Nowadays, with social media, it's much faster and much easier. But Yahoo groups were a good one. I remember those.
Oh, yeah. Back then, that's all there was to advertise then. And then when I made my own group, that was one of the best things that I did for my business. I remember that after the point I started my own in the Facebook group devoted just to my designs, that sales and people joining and people knowing about me just began to increase.
Interesting. Well, everybody knows about you. And then your designs just get better and better.
Right. And you got to have good designs too, and
well, that's the thing. Like I mentioned yesterday, I'm duplicating this for people who didn't see our Facebook Live yesterday. If in the hoop embroidery. All I saw were a handful of these at some shows, sewing shows, and I just was absolutely not impressed at all. I thought, well, the inside doesn't get finished, and what am I going to do with it? But your stuff, well, items, I should say, are things that I would use and give as a gift any day, and they would think that I spent a lot of money at a high-end store.
Well, thanks.
And that's very cool.
Thanks.
So,
well, I really do try
so
to
do you
put out,
have,
unique, different things that people can use.
right, which you do. These new bags are great. So I put a link to yesterday's live Facebook. For those of you that are on here, if you were not on our live Facebook, we're giving away a spa collection. We did have somebody yesterday that had a question for you on that. The towel. What did you fill that with?
I happen to have the towel right here. And okay, like I said, it was a hand towel that I started with. And in the instructions, you make a little, it's a little pocket here and it closes with Velcro. But then I just kind of made, I call it like a little bladder. It's just muslin. And I made a rectangle, which the instructions tell you how big to make it, and put stuffing in it. So
That's
that
cute.
then this can come out and you can wash the towel and not have to worry about the stuffing.
That's great. I still love those letters on there. Janet Frey just said, "You shocked so many people when I say that I made the mirror in the case." Haha. Because now that is a shock. I mean, because it's like, how do you get that mirror? And if nobody's done in the hoop designs, they don't know about the placement lines. And then you put the mirror, and then you sew. But it's so perfect. You have it there.
I got
The mirror by any
here's
chance?
one of the mirrors. Whoops.
Oh, that's so cute.
And
That's
it is,
really cute.
here's the back. So the mirror is inside. It's completely inside.
That's adorable. Where do you find those little mirrors?
Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. It's just a 3-inch craft
Oh,
mirror.
really? Oh, yes. I have those all over my counter with rocks on them and candles.
There you go. Now you can turn them
Very
into little
good.
gifts.
Yeah. Well, it looks like I'm not able to bring Rhonda on. Would anyone else like to try to come on here live before I let Reen go back to her? Will we get another discount code today? Are you going to do any alphabet sets? Pat, she gave a discount code yesterday. I will type it in. I believe it's FB Live, right?
FB Live 20.
FB Live 20 is code. I'm punching that in. On her website until Sunday night, you get 20% off any designs. So don't miss that, Pat. Sunday night. So everything says I've seen neck pads filled with rice. So they can be warmed in the microwave. Oh, I've seen that too. Have you ever tried that, Reen?
I haven't, but you could certainly do that if you wanted to.
Yes. And do you want to know how I know that? Because my last cat that isn't here anymore, not because of this, but he clawed that thing open and there was rice everywhere. They should have a little warning label. Okay, Rhonda said that she can't get on. Sorry, Rhonda. We'll try again then. Would anyone else like to pop in? I will invite you. Otherwise, Reen, anything else you want to share with everyone?
No, I'm happy that everyone came. I'm glad that you asked me to do this today, Angela. It's been a lot of fun. I know that all your other interviews are going to be great. And, I'm so glad that we got to meet, and become friends. With Joanne, it was, that was probably one of the highlights of last year, was meeting you guys and working with you. And I hope I get to work with you again sometime soon.
I hope so too. And I totally agree. It's just funny how things happen. And we ended up having all those events together. By the time we got to the last event, I was like, I'm so depressed because you guys are my traveling buddies. And when you do travel and you're with the same group of people, it's like meeting your friends instead of work, although it is work, but you know what I mean.
It's a lot of fun.
So I do hope I get to see you at another event. So everyone's saying thank you. Thank you all for being here. Let's one more question. Do you have any thoughts about, oh yes, thank you for asking this again. Do you have any thoughts about sticky stabilizer gumming up your machine and everything? Has it happened to you or anyone? Or what do you think of sticky back overall?
For my designs, I never use sticky back stabilizer because if you're making a purse or something, you don't want sticky stabilizer inside, and you have a front, you have a lining, so the stabilizers can get stuck inside. So whenever I make my bags, I want to use something that's soft and something that's going to stay in there and not deteriorate. I actually think I have a roll of sticky back stabilizer that I got when I first started, doing embroidery, that's still laying downstairs because personally, I just never use it. I might use it sometimes in my snowballs.
If you've had it that long, Reen, if you've had it that long,
it's probably that,
I think I would toss it. It's going to be like crazy.
Yeah, I don't use it for the things that I do. So.
Okay, so for the beginner embroiderer, regardless if it's for a business or just doing it for fun, sticky back is like great. Just stick your stuff on there. Maybe you don't want to use the 505 spray. Well, how do you get your designs? Do you use 505 spray or do you tape like I've seen? How do you, if you're going to float your designs?
I use spray. If I'm floating something, I'll use spray and maybe a basting stitch on my machine to, hold it down in place, or possibly pins or something. But like I said, I rarely use the sticky back.
Okay. I like sticky back water soluble for my knits, only because the knits can pucker.
Right.
And then when you embroider, that sticky just makes it nice and flat, but it's not my favorite. I have a couple more things on here people are asking you. Rhonda, the 3M medical tape to help with isn't that what we use at your shows?
Yeah, that clear transport medical tape. In my opinion, it's the best tape. I think Jude, the brother educator, is the one who introduced us to that. And whenever I do an event, I try to get the stores to get that and use it because it's the best. Because in the hoop, you're on the back side of the hoop, you're on the front side of the hoop, turning the hoop back and forth. You got to keep things, stuck down really well.
And that stuff was wonderful. I have quite a few people asking, where do I get the 3M tape? Where is it? What is it? Well, it's medical tape.
Right. You can get it. I ordered off of Amazon. Just type in transport tape. You get a box of, 12 rolls for like $10. It's really cheap. So, and it's the best tape. A lot of that tape, sometimes in classes or events, you use the blue painter's tape. And it just rolls under the machine and, sticks to the bed of the machine and stuff.
Yeah, I have not had very good luck with that. It doesn't
stick
at all.
This stuff is great.
Except to your walls.
This stuff is great. And you can stitch through it with no problem. So I really like it.
Somebody just said, do you like the pink tape from Floriani?
I've never used it, so I really can't
I'm not familiar with that.
on it. I'm only using this transport tape because I love it so much.
Well, and for all of you that want to know, why test something else when that works perfect? And that was one of the best tips ever. And I think it was Jude that gave us
that. I think it was too.
Somebody, Janet Payne, said, I made you crossbody bag last night and could have used it. I was trying to find this and I could not find it in my stash. What is the bag called that I made last year? I want to make some new ones, and I know I have it here because I had you sign my CD. It was the little bikini. Oh, the bikini bag, yeah. The bikini bag. If any of you are looking for a cute idea for summer, I'll find it. I'll bring it on my live show next week, or I'll take a photo. I had you sign it. This is when we first met too. But I thought, okay, then I'll have something of Reen's. But I love that bag. Oh. So for those of you that want a good summer idea. So it looks like Rhonda said it's 3M transport. Right. You can look that exactly. And let's see. Another one of my favorite things. Angela? Another one of my favorite things now to use when doing my designs is your clapper. Because I can press everything nice and flat. And, I never would have known about a clapper unless I would have met you. And it's wonderful. It presses everything nice and flat and keeps everything looking professional, when it's done. That's the big thing. When you're sewing, if it's bags or garments or anything like that, we want it to be homemade, and now it's called maker. They changed the words to be whatever everybody wants. But you also want it to look very professional. Right. And I used to laugh. Someone will say, "Did you make that?" Well, yeah. And then they'll say, well, oh, I don't know if I'm into sewing. Well, how do you think you got the garments in the store? Or how do you think they got that bag? It was sewn by somebody. So if you can sew it yourself and it looks professional, that's really cool. Laurel said you just ordered both clappers. Hey, Laurel. That means Katie's going to send you a note and ask if you want me to sign them. I had everybody that wants them signed, I do it at the top so it doesn't get on your fabric. Otherwise, if you use it on your fabric, my name will be backwards. But Reen, that's a perfect example of when we travel and meet everybody else, no matter how many years you've been in the business, you can always pick up tips from other people.
Right.
Or maybe
you go to
share tips that they never heard of.
You go to classes and you always learn something. I learned something every time that I've gone to any class, that I do or anything. I always learn something too. A lot of people about classes and events, they get kind of hung up on what project are we going to make? It's all about the projects. Well, everybody wants to make, something fun and interesting and stuff, but classes are so much more. It's what you learn. It's the fun that you have. It's, working on a machine maybe that you never worked on before. A lot of these classes that I do, you're using top of the line machines and you actually get to sit there for, spend some time with it and see what it can do and, learn about it and stuff. So classes just always aren't about exactly what you're making.
Project. I completely agree. And I also noticed camaraderie, that they become friends. And even the events that we went to, we see some of the same people at the next event.
Right.
They didn't come to the next event, even though it's the exact same projects. But you see them and it was like you just saw them last week. It's sewing friends from all over.
Right. Event I did a month or so ago, 2 ladies came and they found out that they live about 3 miles apart. And now they're friends.
Really?
They're friends and they were going to get together and start sewing together and stuff. So
that's very cool.
You never know what's going to happen.
I had that happen on Facebook Live. The last event I went to at All Brands in Houston, 2 ladies had met on my Facebook Live and then came to the show together, sat together, and they're sewing friends now. That's pretty cool.
So
I just see one more quick question and then we'll go ahead and close this out because I don't want to keep you too long. But it says, Carrie wants to know, Reen, do your classes use Brother too?
I do. Most of my classes have been using Brother machines, mainly Dream machines. I have done some classes that we've used Bernina and, Baby Lock, but the majority of my events have been Brother events.
Well, okay, here's a question for you, and you can answer this however you want. I mean, I'm obviously a little biased to Brother as their spokesperson, but I love their machines and I would never represent a company that I don't use. Isn't it a little bit challenging? You go to a class and you're teaching a certain aspect, but you have to teach on a different machine. I mean, for sewing, it's no big deal really because there'll be other educators in the room that can help people fix their machine if something goes wrong. But embroidery, you're touching the screen, you're bringing in letters or whatever. It's totally different.
Right. And, I'm not familiar with every machine. Now, I'm learning things as I do classes, they have a different type of machine. But yeah, it's a big challenge. And yeah, I'm kind of biased too towards Brother just because they're so user friendly. There have been times with machines where it's like, oh my gosh, why do you have to hit that button? And then you got to hit that other button when, I'm used to just hitting one button to accomplish something. But it is a challenge.
I don't know about the other brands, but the one thing I like about Brother is that I can go from the Dream machine to an older machine to the 10 needle. They're all interfaced the same.
Right.
Which for me, the way everything is so computerized now with the scanning and the embroidery, it's a learning challenge if you have a whole bunch of different ones.
Right.
So I was just curious because I know that a couple years ago I did a class at a sewing expo and I can't remember what machines they were, but it was one I was not familiar with. And I just had to make sure that they could, I'm just teaching a certain technique. It had nothing to do with the machine, but I would have been completely lost because it was a whole different interface than what I'm used to.
Right.
So that would be a challenge. All right, well, Reen, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Sorry about the technological issues first thing at my first interview. for this entrepreneur series. And I look forward to following you. When we catch back up with you in a few months, I'd like to do an embroidery panel, invite Rhonda early. So later this summer, if that's okay, when you get back from your travel.
Oh yeah, sounds great. Love to.
I would love that. And if I see any notes for here pop up, but thank you so much. I know everyone's saying thank you. I hope they learned a lot. This will be live on YouTube. So, well, not live anymore, but it'll be replayed on YouTube. So, Reen, thank you so much. I wish you the best in business. And I know that we'll be in touch, but I know that all the sewing ladies here really appreciate you taking this time.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I had a great time.
All right. Say hi to the family.
Bye.
Bye.